Have you ever felt the earth remember something you've forgotten? Welcome to Unearthed Secrets, where stone, silence, and time still speak. Before we begin, please like, subscribe, and tell us where and what time you're watching from. Now, let's listen to the world beneath the world and the echoes it left behind. The door that refused to open. Morning begins slowly in the Hyrcanian forest. A thin mist drifts between the trunks, curling around the roots of ancient beech and ironwood trees. Dew glistens on leaves broad as hands. The air smells of rain that hasn't yet fallen. Wet earth, moss, and distance. The forest here is old in a way that makes time feel like weather. It doesn't move forward. It circles. It folds. Every sound is swallowed by green. Birdsong muffled by canopy. Footsteps absorbed by layers of rotting leaves. And hidden in its heart, half buried beneath roots and stone, lies a door. It stands alone. No walls. No roof. No sign of what it once belonged to. Just a slab of carved oak set into a frame of gray limestone, its surface dark with age, its carvings almost erased. The villagers call it Darvazi e Baste, the closed door. To outsiders, it's simply a ruin. To those who live near it, it's a warning. No one knows when it was built. No one remembers it ever opening. When you first see it, it looks impossible. A door standing upright in the middle of the forest, framed by vines and silence. It leans slightly, as if bowing under the weight of centuries. Moss covers its hinges. The wood glows faintly in the dim light, the way wet bark sometimes does, as though it breathes. You approach slowly, your footsteps soft on the damp ground. The air grows cooler, heavier. The wind shifts, and for a moment, the forest seems to fall silent. No birds, no insects, no sound at all. The stillness feels deliberate. You stop a few steps away. The carvings on the door are worn but still visible. A circle at the center, surrounded by what looks like flowing script, curling in loops that mean nothing and everything. The circle itself is cracked, a hairline split running from top to bottom, like a closed eye that dreams. At the base of the frame, half buried in soil, lies a stone tablet. Its surface is smooth, almost polished by centuries of rain. You wipe away the dirt, revealing a few faint symbols. They resemble the ancient Pahlavi script, but the order makes no sense. The villagers say the door was built in the time when forests could remember. That deep within the trees, before temples were built of stone, there were sanctuaries carved from silence. This was one of them. They say it leads to a shrine that once belonged to no god, and every god, a place where offerings were left not for mercy, but for listening, and that one day, when the people stopped coming, the door closed itself. No one has opened it since. You kneel before it, tracing your fingers over the carvings. The wood is cool, smooth, unyielding. Your reflection shimmers faintly on its surface, warped and darker than it should be. When you press your palm to it, the world holds its breath. For a moment, you feel vibration, faint, slow, deep, not movement, but pulse. Like something inside the door is awake and patient. You pull your hand back. The feeling fades, but the echo remains, a rhythm in your chest that doesn't belong to you. The mist thickens. Light drips through the canopy in pale threads. The forest exhales, and from somewhere behind you, a crow calls once, long and low. You turn, but the sound has no source. When you face the door again, the light has shifted. It looks different now, darker, heavier. The carvings seem deeper, the circle larger. You can see what you couldn't before. Faint symbols carved into the stone frame, hidden beneath vines. They form a pattern, a ring of repeating shapes that radiate from the door like ripples in still water. You brush the vines aside. One of the symbols catches the light, a small spiral, its center hollowed out, filled with something dark. You lean closer. It's not shadow, it's pitch. Tar maybe, old, hardened. When lightning storms sweep through the Hyrcanian hills, villagers say the door hums. Not loudly, but deep, a sound like thunder folded into silence. They say the trees lean toward it when wind passes through the valley. That animals avoid it, except for the blackbirds, who perch on its frame and sing only when the forest is empty of people. You wait. The forest doesn't move, the door doesn't move, but the air around it does. It feels as if the space in front of it is bending, a soft pull inward, the way light bends over heat. You remember what the old woman in the village said before you left. It was never meant to open for hands. You take a step closer. The mist curls around your legs. The smell of resin fills the air. Sharp, sweet, familiar. The wood seems to shimmer faintly. You reach for the handle, a ring of bronze green with age. It doesn't look rusted, only tired. You touch it. It's warm. The metal pulses once beneath your fingers, then stills. The forest goes quiet again. You try to pull. It doesn't move. You push. Nothing. The surface hums faintly under your hand. The vibration deepens, spreading through your arm, your chest, your throat. It's like standing beside the heart of the earth. And then, from somewhere deep within the door, comes a sound, soft, low and unmistakably alive, a sigh. It lasts only a second. Then silence returns, thicker than before. The mist gathers closer. the forest dimming to green-gray. You step back, heart steady but cold. The air tastes metallic, charged, as if a storm is forming. The door no longer looks like wood, it looks like something caught between material and thought. The circle at its center glows faintly, a dull amber pulse that matches your heartbeat. You don't move, you only watch as the light fades, then returns, weaker now, then fades again. The rhythm slows until it disappears entirely. The mist parts for a moment. Beyond the trees, the horizon flashes, a single stroke of lightning far away, followed by a deep roll of thunder. The forest doesn't react, the door stands silent, the air smells of rain. You wait, nothing. Then, almost imperceptibly, you hear it, from deep inside the wood, the faint creak of something shifting like a sigh turning over in sleep. The door refuses to open, but it remembers how. By the time the storm reaches you, the forest has already gone dark. The first drops of rain fall like whispers through the leaves, soft at first, then heavier, until the entire canopy trembles. The air grows cool and electric, the kind of charged stillness that feels both alive and ancient. Lightning flickers across the treetops, silver veins pulsing through the mist. Thunder follows, not sharp, but deep, rolling through the valley in long, slow breaths. The door hums again. You can't tell if it's the sound of the storm or the thing inside the wood remembering. The vibration runs through the ground, through the roots, through your ribs. You feel it more than hear it. The circle at the center of the door glows faintly once more, this time steadier, brighter. Rain streams down its surface, tracing the carved patterns, pooling in the cracks like tears. The air smells of resin and ozone. You step closer, though you don't remember deciding to move. The hum grows louder. Beneath it there's something else, a rhythm, like a heartbeat. It comes not from behind the door, but through it. You press your hand to the wood again. The surface feels alive now, warm, vibrating in time with that slow, steady pulse. The forest bends toward it. The trees nearest to the shrine lean slightly inward, their leaves trembling, their roots pulling through soil like breath drawn deep. Another flash of lightning. For an instant the door's carvings burn white, every groove illuminated, every line visible. You see figures now, faint, half erased but unmistakable. They aren't human, tall shapes with long arms and featureless faces. Each one stands with its hands pressed against a circle, identical to the one carved into this door. Beneath them, the script flows like water, impossible to read, yet rhythmic, like prayer. The thunder answers. When it fades, you realize the forest is completely still again. No wind, no rain, just that hum. The door pulses once more, light gathering at its center, brighter, then brighter still, until the circle is filled with a glow the color of amber honey. The crack that runs down its middle widens slightly, not enough to open, only enough to let out a single thread of light. It spills across the ground, winding between roots, sliding like liquid toward your feet. You watch as it coils around your boots, climbs the bark of a nearby tree, and disappears into its trunk. The forest answers in kind. Leaves rustle though there is no wind. The branches above you creak softly, almost bowing. The rain begins again, slow, steady, warm. And through it all the hum remains. You understand then that the door was never meant to be opened by force. It opens only through remembrance. The shrine it guards isn't behind it, but within everything around it, within the trees, the rain, the air. The door is a vessel, not a boundary. It listens, it holds, and when the world forgets how to listen, it closes. You kneel before it, placing your hand once more on the circle. The light dims under your touch, like a heartbeat calming. For a long while, nothing moves. The storm softens to mist again. The air grows warm and quiet. The hum fades into silence. Then from deep within the forest you hear something new. A sound like breathing, not human, not animal. The forest itself exhaling. The ground seems to settle, the trees straighten, and the mist lifts, revealing more of the shrine's surroundings than before. For the first time, you see it clearly. A ring of stones encircling the door, half buried in moss, each one carved with the same spiraling symbol. It isn't a wall, it's a circle of listening. The villagers were right. The forest remembers. When you rise, your knees leave impressions in the damp soil that fill immediately with water, tiny mirrors reflecting the faint light from the door. You look at them and realize, every drop of rain, every pool, every shimmer, is another door, another reflection of the same threshold. You are surrounded by countless ways to enter, and none require opening. The light in the circle fades completely now. The wood cools, the hum is gone, but the silence that follows is alive, deep, patient. You take a few steps back, standing in the drizzle. The forest feels different, not less mysterious, but gentler. The air is lighter, the trees seem to breathe slower. The door remains as it has always been, still, closed, eternal. But now you understand its refusal. It never denied entry, it protected stillness. The lightning flickers one last time across the valley. The thunder follows, distant now, a memory fading into the hills. The rain softens to mist again. You turn to leave, following the narrow path back through the trees. The forest opens slightly, letting you pass. Every few steps, you glance back, half expecting the door to glow again. It doesn't. It doesn't need to. At the edge of the clearing, you stop and look one final time. The mist curls around it, swallowing its edges until it looks like part of the forest again. A shape within shapes. A door that opens only inward. A shrine that never forgot what silence means. As you walk away, the sound of the rain fades. The last thing you hear is a low sigh behind you, the same one you heard before. Soft. Deep. A breath that might be the forest, or the door, or both. The Hyrcanian trees close above you, folding the path into shadow. The air cools, heavy with the scent of moss and memory. And somewhere far behind, in a clearing no one will ever truly find, a door stands closed, guarding a silence that does not need to end. The pillars that guarded the ice. The Arctic does not begin, it simply appears, white, vast, silent, as though the world itself has forgotten the idea of sound. Here, light never behaves as it should. It spills sideways, bends through mist, clings to snow like memory that refuses to fade. Every breath you take feels older than you are. Every shadow stretches farther than it should. And among the endless sheets of wind and ice, there stand stones. They rise from the frozen tundra like black teeth, rough and tall, each one crowned with frost. From a distance, they look like cairns, piles of rock left by ancient travelers to mark the way. But up close, you see the precision, the careful stacking, the deliberate placement of each slab. They are too symmetrical to be chance. The Inuit call them Inuinak Kualipat, the stones of the ancestors. The explorers who found them first called them the pillars that guarded the ice. No one knows who built them, or when. Each pillar faces north, slightly angled, as if in conversation with the wind. The bases are half buried in permafrost, yet they stand perfectly aligned, 5 of them, spaced evenly across a ridge overlooking the frozen bay. Between them, the ground dips into a hollow that never thaws, even in midsummer. The people who live nearest, hunters from Koanak, say that before the sea froze, the pillars marked the edge of something sacred. They say when the aurora touches their tips, the stones hum with light. You stand before them now. The air burns in your throat. Every exhale becomes mist, hanging for a moment before the wind pulls it away. The ice beneath your boots groans softly. The pillars tower over you, streaked with veins of white quartz. The surface is rough, flaked by centuries of storm, but the shapes are clean, corners sharp, edges straight. Whoever made them did not build for beauty. They built for endurance. A faint sound travels through the air. Not quite a note, not quite wind. It rises, falls, repeats. You realize it's not coming from around the stones, but from within them. You press a gloved hand against the nearest pillar. The vibration is unmistakable. It hums, deep and low, almost below hearing. The sound of something remembering its purpose. The air is so cold it feels hollow. Above you the sky begins to change. Faint green threads unfurl, rippling across the horizon. The aurora arrives without warning, flowing like water made of fire. The light bends around the pillars. The quartz veins catch it, glowing pale green and blue. For a moment each stone seems alive, lit from within by the sky's slow dance. You can almost hear words forming in that hum, not language, just meaning. The Inuit say these pillars mark the breath of the ice itself, the rhythm that keeps the world in balance. When storms rise too often, when the glaciers crack too soon, the elders say it's because the stones have fallen silent. Tonight, they are awake. The aurora grows brighter, moving like a tide across the heavens. The ground glows faintly. The hollow between the pillars shimmers as if filled with invisible water. You kneel. The cold bites through your clothes, but you barely feel it. Beneath the hum of the stones, you can hear something else, faint, distant, echoing under the ice. A deep, slow groan. The sound of glaciers shifting miles away. You close your eyes. For a heartbeat, the hum and the groan merge. Earth and sky vibrating together. It feels like standing inside the pulse of the planet. The wind rises, carrying snow in soft spirals. The air fills with light, green, blue, violet. Each gust makes the stones sing a little louder, a resonance that grows as the night deepens. And then it happens. The aurora descends, not physically, but in brightness. It touches the top of the center pillar, and the quartz flares white. The hum becomes tone, clear, sustained, bell-like. The sound travels outward, spreading across the ridge, echoing through the valley below. The ice answers. Cracks appear in the surface of the bay, not violent, but rhythmic, like the expansion of lungs. The wind dies. The sound continues. You realize the stones are not responding to the sky. They're guiding it. Each one catches a thread of light, and bends it, refracts it, sends it spinning into the air like invisible cords. The aurora shifts in shape, forming a spiral above the pillars, slow, deliberate, perfect. The center glows brightest. You step closer. The air there is warmer, impossibly. The snow doesn't fall through the light. It floats, suspended, shimmering. You reach out and your fingers tingle with static. The pillars hum together now, their tones overlapping into harmony. It's not music, exactly. It's geometry turned into sound. The hollow between them glows faintly blue. Beneath the frost, you can see lines etched into the rock, circles within circles, leading toward the center like the ripple of a drop frozen mid-fall. The Inuit legends tell of a door buried beneath the ice. Not a door that opens, but one that listens. When the earth grows restless, the door speaks through these stones, reminding the sky to calm. You watch the light pulse, slow and steady, in time with your breath. The world feels balanced, motionless, eternal. Then, as suddenly as it began, the light fades. The hum lowers to silence. The aurora thins into green wisps and drifts east. The night returns to its quiet. The stones are black again. The quartz veins dim. The hum is gone. But its echo remains inside your chest, as if something ancient has placed a memory there for safekeeping. The ice beneath you creaks once more, soft, patient, alive. The pillars stand motionless. The aurora vanishes beyond the ridge, and you are left with the sense that the world has just completed something. A sentence, a song, a breath. Whatever it was, it didn't end. It only paused. By the time the aurora fades, the sky has turned the color of smoke. Clouds drift low over the horizon, their edges faintly silvered by a sun that never truly rises. The Arctic doesn't have mornings, it has awakenings, slow and reluctant. You stand beside the pillars, breath misting in the cold. The silence that follows feels sacred. The hum is gone, yet you can still feel its pattern moving through you, faint but constant, like a heartbeat that belongs to the land, not to you. The air smells of salt and frost and stone. Somewhere far across the bay, ice shifts again, a deep groan echoing through the plain. You can feel it beneath your boots, the entire world moving an inch closer to itself. You brush frost from the nearest pillar. The quartz veins glimmer faintly in the half-light, pulsing once before fading again. The soundless rhythm is still there, hidden beneath silence. The stories you heard in Koanak come back in fragments, that these stones were once men, shamans who walked into the storm to calm it, that when the world froze over, they gave up their voices so the sky could speak instead, that they stand watch still, listening for the next shift of balance. You step back, looking at them again, 5 dark sentinels, half buried in ice. They don't feel cold anymore, they feel eternal. The wind picks up, brushing snow across their bases. It carries a low whistle, weaving between the pillars in a slow, circular motion. The sound moves like breath, steady, endless, quiet. The same whistle the explorers heard in 1893 when they first stumbled upon this ridge. The same they swore echoed even after the wind died. The sound that reminded them of a voice too large for language. You sit on a ridge of ice, facing the stones. The sky shifts through 1,000 shades of gray. The light comes from everywhere and nowhere. Time dissolves. You imagine the builders, whoever they were, stacking these stones one by one in the endless snow, hearing the same hum, the same whistle, and knowing they were aligning with something invisible but real. They weren't marking territory. They were tuning the world. A single snowflake drifts down, slow enough for you to see every line of its pattern before it lands on the back of your glove and melts instantly. In that tiny moment, you understand what the stones have been guarding all this time. Not treasure, not a secret, but harmony. The balance between stillness and motion, between cold and light, between silence and the hum beneath it. The ice groans again, louder this time. It's not a warning, it's an exhale. The ground beneath your feet shifts slightly, a reminder that even in stillness, the world moves. The clouds thin, a pale glow spreads across the horizon. The sun doesn't rise, it simply reveals itself as a lighter band of gold in the gray. The pillars catch it, their edges outlined in faint light. Each quartz vein glows again, weaker but steady, like embers remembering fire. And then you hear it, not from the pillars, from the ice itself. A deep tone, drawn out and patient, echoing from far beneath the frozen bay. It rolls upward through the ground, through the stones, through you. The harmony is returning. You close your eyes, the vibration steadies your breathing, slows your thoughts. It feels as though the entire Arctic is breathing with you. Wind, water, light and stone all moving in the same rhythm. For a moment, the cold disappears. For a moment, you are simply part of the hum. When you open your eyes again, the sound has faded. The sun's faint light spreads wider across the snow, turning the ice pink and gold. The pillars stand dark against it, tall and absolute. They don't need to move. They already speak. You stand, brushing frost from your coat. The air is still. The world feels balanced again. Not quiet, not loud, but whole. You take one last look at the pillars. The wind curls around them softly, almost affectionately. They hum again, once, brief as a breath, then silence. You smile. The hum is inside you now. You can feel it echoing faintly as you turn back toward the distant horizon. The Arctic stretches endless and unbroken, and for the first time, it doesn't feel empty, it feels alive. Somewhere beneath the frozen earth, water moves, slow as thought. The stones keep their watch, unblinking. The wind passes again, whispering through the ridges, carrying the faintest trace of that low harmony. The pillars never shift, they never fade, they only listen. They are not monuments to those who came before, but guardians of what still remains, the breath of the planet beneath the ice, steady and eternal. And as you walk away across the snow, each step sinking into softness, you realize that the silence of this place is not absence. It's waiting, waiting for the next storm, the next thaw, the next song of light. The sky brightens, the air stills, and the pillars stand, their quartz veins glimmering like the memory of stars, still guarding, still listening, still humming beneath the endless ice. The throne, the storm forgot. The sea around Orkney never truly sleeps. It breathes, slow and endless, in the language of waves and wind. Some nights it whispers against the cliffs, soft as breath over glass. Other nights, it roars, crashing white against black stone, shattering itself on shores older than names. The islands have always been shaped by its moods. Every field, every rock, every ruin here carries salt in its veins. And on the western coast of mainland, where the grass meets the edge of the world, there is a single stone that sits like a figure waiting for memory. A chair, carved from one block of sandstone, facing the sea. The locals call it the Throne of the Storm. Archaeologists name it the Orkney-seated stone, but no one agrees on what it truly is. It stands at the edge of a low cliff, surrounded by wind, weather, and silence. At high tide, the spray reaches its base. At low tide, the sea withdraws just far enough to reveal black sand and fractured rock. The chair is not ornate. It's massive, worn smooth by centuries of rain, but the shape is unmistakable. A backrest, a seat, armrests curved from the same solid slab. It seems impossible. A throne built not for a king, but for the wind itself. You walk toward it in the pale light of dawn. The horizon is gray-blue, a line drawn between two infinities. The grass is slick with dew, bending beneath your boots. The air smells of kelp, stone, and thunder. The seat looks smaller up close, not made for comfort but for endurance. Its surface is pitted with time. Lichen grows along its base, pale green and white, like veins of old marble. A pool of rainwater sits in the hollow of the seat, reflecting the moving sky above. You reach out and touch it. It's cold, not dead cold, but alive in the way certain stones seem to remember heat. The texture is rough, yet familiar, as though shaped by countless hands before yours. The wind rushes across the cliff, carrying the distant cry of gulls and the low hum of the tide turning. Somewhere beneath that sound, you think you hear another, faint, steady, almost like breath. The Orkney legends say the throne was placed here by a people who could speak to storms. They carved it from the same rock as the cliffs, so that when the wind howled, it would carry their voices back to the sea. They called themselves the listeners. When a storm gathered beyond the horizon, one of them would come here and sit upon the throne, waiting for the first wind to arrive. They would listen to the sky's anger, speak to it in tones and rhythm, and, if the stories are true, sometimes calm it. The islanders say the sea still remembers those voices, and the throne still listens for them. You sit. The stone is cold against your back, grounding, steady. The sky stretches wide above, cloudless for now but restless. The wind touches your face, cool and wet, the kind that carries the taste of distant rain. The sound of waves fills everything. Each crash below rises and falls like a long breath. The rhythm ancient, patient, endless. You close your eyes. The world around you fades to sound. Wind through grass, surf on stone, your own breathing joining the rhythm. For a moment, you can almost feel the movement of the island itself, the slow shifting of land underwater, the deep groan of stone pressed by tide. Then faintly, something else. A hum, not from the sea, not from the wind, but from within the stone itself. It's low, resonant, steady. You feel it in your spine, in your ribs. It's not a sound you hear. It's a sound you remember. When you open your eyes, the light has changed. The clouds have gathered without a sound. Thick, heavy, gray. The sea darkens, turning the color of slate. The air tastes sharper now, charged. The hum deepens. The first drop of rain strikes your hand, cold and deliberate. Then another, then 100. Within moments the sky opens. Rain sweeps across the cliffs, driven by wind that howls through the grass. The sea below erupts into white foam. The throne vibrates beneath you, humming louder now, its tone rising with the storm. You should move, but you don't. Something in the sound roots you there. Not fear, not awe, but belonging. The wind roars in your ears, tearing at your coat, flinging salt water across your face. Lightning flashes beyond the horizon, and for a heartbeat, the entire world is light. The stone hums in response, the tone higher now, clearer. You realize what you're hearing isn't the stone alone, it's the entire cliff. The throne is part of it, a note in a larger instrument. Each wave that hits the rocks below sends vibration through the earth, up into the chair, into you. Every gust of wind changes the pitch. Together they form something like music, not melody, but meaning. It's the sound of the storm remembering its shape. You sit through it, soaked, breathless, eyes half closed. The hum surrounds you, passes through you, becomes you. The storm builds until it feels alive, a being made of wind, light, and sound. And within that chaos, there's rhythm, structure, a pulse. The rain stings your skin. The sea's roar becomes thunder's voice. Lightning flashes again, closer now, and for a moment, you see it. Carved faintly into the upper edge of the throne's back, a spiral. It's almost gone, worn by centuries of weather, but it's there. A single curling line etched into the stone, pointing toward the sea. The same spiral found on Neolithic stones across Orkney, at Maeshowe, at Brodgar, at Skara Brae, the symbol of returning. The wind shifts, colder now, sharper. The sea below rises higher, the waves climbing up the rocks in white hands, but the throne does not move. It hums stronger, louder, as if answering the storm directly. The air feels alive, electric, heavy with power and history. You can smell ozone, salt, and earth. And then it happens. A single bolt of lightning strikes the sea not far from shore. The flash blinds you, and the thunder that follows shakes the ground. For a split second you feel the throne lift, not upward but inward. The hum peaks, becoming a pure tone, steady and endless. The rain freezes in the air. The sea pauses. The wind holds its breath. And then silence. Complete and absolute. The storm stops. The rain falls no more. The clouds part slightly, and sunlight bleeds through in thin gold veins. The sea flattens. The air warms. You exhale. The hum fades. The stone cools. When you open your eyes, the horizon is calm again, the world washed clean. The spiral on the throne glistens, faintly illuminated by the last drops of rain. You understand, without words, that the throne was never built for power. It was built for balance. It doesn't command storms. It listens to them, until they remember how to rest. By the time the sun reaches the edge of the sea, the storm has become nothing more than memory. The waves move slowly again, tracing long silver lines beneath the fading light. The air tastes of salt and earth. The grass bends gently, whispering against itself. You sit still upon the throne. The stone has cooled, but a faint warmth lingers beneath your hands. The echo of what just was. The hum is gone, yet the silence that follows feels alive, as though the world has drawn a deep breath and is holding it. The Orkney cliffs are beautiful in the aftermath of rain. Mist rises from the heather, curling into low clouds that drift lazily inland. The horizon glows in layers of blue and gold. Seabirds wheel overhead, their cries sharp but distant. For a moment you feel the strange peace of being entirely alone, small, surrounded, and safe. The throne faces west, toward the dying light. Its surface glistens with a thin sheen of water. You can see your reflection faintly, blurred, indistinct, part of the stone itself. The spiral above your head catches the last light of the sun, turning gold before fading again. You stand. The world feels heavy with stillness. The storm has passed, but its memory hums in your bones, a vibration too low for hearing, too deep to forget. The tide is retreating, pulling white foam across the black rocks below. Each wave leaves behind a small glimmer, as though the sea has scattered bits of sky along the shore. You walk a few paces away, turning back to look at the throne. From this distance, it seems almost human, a figure seated, patient, watching the horizon. The wind moves through the grass again, soft, rhythmic, repeating the same gentle sound it's made for 1,000 years. The island has returned to its quiet rhythm, to its balance between land and sea. But something in you knows the throne is still listening. It's said that the storms never truly leave Orkney. They linger beneath the waves, sleeping until the air is ready to carry them again. And the throne waits for them, the place where the sky and the sea meet in agreement. When people stopped listening, the storms grew wilder. When no one came to sit in the stone's embrace, the wind began to speak without language. You glance at the spiral again, remembering how it glowed in lightning, the symbol of return. Maybe it isn't a warning or a prayer. Maybe it's a reminder. Everything circles back, the wind to the sea, the tide to the shore, the storm to its silence, and all of it, always, returns here, to this one chair carved from the bones of the island. The light fades, the sea darkens, the horizon bleeds into gray. Somewhere far off, thunder mutters one last time, gentle, like a closing sigh. The throne hums once in response, not loud, barely audible, just enough to remind you that it hears. You sit again, drawn without thought. The air is colder now, the world quieter. The hum grows faintly stronger as you rest your palms on the arms of the stone. You realize that the rhythm of it matches your pulse exactly, that maybe it always did. The throne does not belong to storms, it belongs to stillness after. The people who carved it might have known that every tempest needs a witness, and that listening is its own kind of control. To sit here is to let the world move through you, wind, water, light, thunder, until all of it slows and remembers itself. The sea whispers, the cliffs echo, the hum deepens once more. The air grows colder. The stars appear, faint at first, then sharp and endless. You look to the sky. that thin space between storm and calm, and see what those ancient listeners must have seen. Not emptiness, but equilibrium, a place where sound becomes silence, and silence becomes meaning. The night stretches on. You sit until the last trace of sun is gone, until even the gulls sleep. The hum fades once more, leaving only wind and tide. You rise at last, your legs stiff from the cold. The sea below glows faintly, moonlight caught in its ripples. The throne looms behind you, solid, waiting, infinite. You place your hand on the stone one final time. It feels neither warm nor cold now. It feels constant. When you turn to leave, the wind shifts again, brushing the back of your neck, not a chill, but a farewell. You walk toward the path that leads inland, through grass heavy with mist. Every few steps you glance back, half expecting to see lightning again, or to hear that hum return. But the sea remains calm, the sky remains still. The throne watches the horizon, as it always has, guarding the silence between storms, holding the memory of thunder like a promise, waiting for the next listener to sit and remember what balance sounds like. Far out on the darkening sea, a single wave rises and breaks, white against black, vanishing before it touches shore. The sound reaches you a moment later, soft, round, complete. You stop and listen. The hum is there again, not from the throne, from the world itself. And in that sound, you understand what the wind and the sea and the stone have always been saying. Nothing ends, it only turns. The spiral glows faintly in your mind's eye, and you keep walking. The storm behind you, the calm ahead. The two always the same. The temple that hummed with bees. The jungle does not rise in the morning. It wakes by degrees, a pulse, a whisper, a breath, hidden beneath leaves thick as leather. Somewhere above, the first parrots scream their colors into the dawn. Below, roots twist through soil as soft as memory, drinking last night's rain. The air is alive, dense with sound, 1,000 wings, 1,000 whispers, all moving in rhythm. And there, hidden beneath the green tide of the Yucatán, stands the thing the forest grew around and never let go of. The locals call it Ka'ab Mul, the temple that hummed with bees. To find it, you follow a path that isn't a path, a narrow corridor cut by capuchin monkeys, winding between ceiba trees and vines so thick they seem to pulse. The air smells of orchids and decay, and somewhere close, honey. When you first see it, it doesn't look like a temple at all. It looks like a hill overtaken by forest, roots spilling down its sides, moss covering every stone. But then your eyes adjust, and the shape emerges. 4 monolithic pillars standing in a square, each tilted inward slightly, their tops swallowed by vines. Between them, a hollow space where the air seems to vibrate. It's not sound exactly, but presence. A tone too deep to hear, felt instead in the ribs, in the soft part behind the eyes. The ground is carpeted with fallen leaves. Beneath them, stone. You brush it clean and find carvings, hexagons, hundreds of them carved into the floor in precise interlocking patterns. Some are filled with hardened resin, others hum faintly when you touch them. The Mayans built countless temples, but none quite like this. Archaeologists believe it predates the classical period, perhaps even older than Uxmal or Ekbalam. They call it an anomaly, a resonant structure designed for sound, but the people here tell another story. They say the gods of this place were not of stone or sky, but of bees. That once, when humans still listened, these pillars sang with the voices of millions of wings, and that one day, the forest grew too quiet. You stand at the edge of the clearing. The jungle hums faintly, not from insects now, but from the temple itself. The sound grows stronger as the air warms, a low vibration rising from the pillars, resonating in the ground. You step closer. The monoliths are enormous, easily 15 feet high, carved from honey-colored limestone, pitted and darkened by age. Each one bears the faint outline of a symbol, an open circle with 6 rays extending from it, like a sun drawn by trembling hands. You run your fingers along the grooves. The stone is warm. The hum deepens. It's subtle. You might mistake it for wind, or the echo of blood in your ears, but the sound is too precise, too rhythmic. It comes from inside the pillars themselves, vibrating the air around you. Then, from somewhere near the base, a movement. You crouch. Tiny forms crawl through cracks in the stone. Bees, their bodies black and gold, moving in perfect silence. They emerge from holes no wider than your finger, fly a few inches, and vanish into the dense air. They are not disturbed by your presence. They don't sting, don't flee. They hover around the monoliths in slow spirals, tracing invisible patterns. And with every pass, the hum deepens. You feel it in your chest now, in the soles of your feet. The air vibrates. The sound thickens until it seems to shape the light itself, the space between the pillars trembling like heat. You step into the center. The ground beneath you is warm, alive. The hexagonal carvings on the floor pulse faintly, filled with golden light that shifts and flickers like honey catching the sun. The bees move faster now, their rhythm tightening. You realize the sound is not just from their wings, it's from the stone responding to them. Each buzz is echoed, magnified, turned into tone. The pillars are singing. The forest around you joins in. The hum spreads through roots and trunks, through leaves that shake without wind. You look up. Above the canopy, the sunlight fractures, spilling down in long, vibrating shafts. The temple glows softly. This is what the Mayans called Melipona Itzamkab, the voice of creation. Bees were sacred, not for honey, but for harmony. They were thought to carry messages between worlds, translating the will of gods into sound. And this temple, this impossible structure of tone and stone, was their cathedral. Each pillar built to resonate at a different pitch, each hexagonal carving tuned to a frequency of flight. Together, they formed a chorus that once filled the jungle for miles. You close your eyes, the hum wraps around you, layered and immense. Beneath it, you can hear patterns, intervals, harmonics, rhythms that repeat like breath. It isn't random, it's music older than language. The air grows thick with scent, honey, resin, rain. When you open your eyes, the bees are gone. The air still moves, but slower now, like the world breathing through you. The light has shifted, gold deepening to amber. The pillars glow softly, their surfaces alive with motion. The symbols carved into them flicker, the 6 rays pulsing like heartbeats. You walk to the nearest one and press your palm flat against the stone. The hum peaks, louder now, almost human. It vibrates through your bones, through your breath, and then, faintly, a whisper. Not sound, but understanding. Something the body feels but the mind can only translate. The words are not yours, yet you know them. We remember what you forgot. The hum softens again. The bees return, moving through shafts of golden light. They trace circles above your head, slow and precise. The jungle seems to bend around the sound, branches leaning, leaves trembling. You understand now why the forest never overtook this place completely. It didn't reclaim it because it still needed it. This is not a ruin, it's a pulse, a living place, still keeping balance, still humming the world awake each dawn. You step out of the center. The sound follows you, softening but constant, a heartbeat fading into distance. You look back once more. The light shifts again. The pillars no longer glowing, but dark, silent. The bees vanish into the green. Only the hum remains, faint and perfect, vibrating through the ground beneath your feet. It feels like a promise. Night falls in the Yucatán like a tide of ink. The light doesn't disappear. It dissolves, drawn slowly into the canopy until only the soft gleam of fireflies remains. The jungle changes its voice. The hum of bees gives way to the low chorus of frogs, to the rustle of nocturnal wings, to the pulse of a million hidden lives beginning their slow, endless movements. You stand at the edge of the clearing, watching the last light fade from the pillars. They no longer glow, but even in darkness, they seem to hold shape against the stars. The air is still, heavy with warmth, and the faint smell of nectar. Somewhere above, the night bees begin their work. You can hear them faintly, not in swarms but in small, steady waves, circling the temple with impossible precision. The hum returns, softer this time, low and steady. You kneel, placing your palm on the ground. The vibration moves through the soil, through stone, through you. The forest feels awake, alert, listening. The ancients believed the world was not kept alive by gods or men, but by resonance. That harmony was a form of creation, and silence was decay. They built temples like this one, to keep the world from forgetting its own tone, and perhaps they were right. The sound grows warmer. The pillars shimmer faintly, not with light, but with vibration. Dust drifts upward, caught in invisible currents. You can feel the hum in your chest now, matching your heartbeat, until you can't tell where one ends and the other begins. It is not random. It is pattern. It is balance. You look around and realize the hexagonal carvings on the ground are glowing again. Faint gold light gathering in the grooves, pulsing in rhythm with the sound. A bee lands near your hand. Its wings glint in the dim light. It doesn't move. It listens. The hum deepens once more. It's no longer sound. It's the sensation of existing, of everything vibrating together, of air, earth, leaf, and breath becoming one continuous note. And then you see it. The vines hanging from the canopy above begin to sway. Though there is no wind, the movement is slow, deliberate, as though the jungle itself is breathing in time with the hum. The trees join the song. The leaves tremble. The roots tighten. You realize, with a quiet kind of awe, that the forest has always been an instrument, and the bees, its caretakers. Every wingbeat a note. Every flower a chord. Every movement of air a translation of the same song. And this temple, these 4 monoliths, are its tuning fork, holding the memory of perfect harmony. The hum rises again, steady, sustained, deep enough to shake the ground. It doesn't frighten you, it fills you. It feels like understanding, like recognition. The pillars seem to tilt inward slightly, their shapes shimmering in the moonlight. Between them, the air glows faintly amber. Something is gathering. You close your eyes. The The sound envelops you, endless, ancient, kind, and for a moment, you hear them. Not the bees, not the jungle, but the ones who built this place. Their voices layered within the hum, chanting softly in a language made of tone, not words. It isn't prayer, it's gratitude. The forest answers in return. You can feel it through your feet, through your skin. A single pulse that moves outward, spreading through the ground, across the trees, into the distance. The hum fades slowly. The bees disperse, rising back into the canopy. The light dims until there's only the faint gleam of moonlight on stone. Silence returns, but it's not empty. It's full of something vast, invisible, and at peace. The jungle sighs, the air cools, the temple rests. You stand once more, your body still buzzing with the resonance that lingers. You step backward out of the clearing, careful not to disturb the ground. The trees close behind you, their trunks forming a slow, breathing wall of green shadow. The hum continues somewhere deep in the distance, faint now, but constant. The temple of bees does not sleep. It doesn't need to. It has kept the world's tone for 1,000 years, and it will keep it for 1,000 more. You glance back one last time through the trees. The clearing is gone. The jungle has already folded itself around it again, hiding it from everything except sound. You smile. The air hums faintly in response, just once, like an acknowledgement. The night deepens, the stars pulse faintly overhead. The world feels balanced again, and as you walk away through the whispering dark, the hum remains inside you, the memory of perfect harmony still resonating beneath your ribs. It doesn't fade, it only quiets, because the sound never truly ends. It only waits to be heard again. The stone that shadowed the river. The Danube moves slowly here. Its surface looks like glass, but underneath it carries stories, silt, bones, fragments of time drifting in a current older than empires. On certain mornings, when the fog hangs low and the water runs pale blue beneath it, you can see it, a shape rising from the southern bank, half hidden by reeds and shadow. A single block of stone, carved and eroded, watching the water. The locals call it the Guardian. It stands just downstream from where the cliffs narrow and the river deepens. A silent figure, neither human nor animal, carved so long ago that even the stone beneath it has changed. It isn't tall, maybe 4 meters, maybe less, but there's a weight to it, a gravity that pulls at the air. Its surface is rough, scored with lines that once meant something. The shape of a head can be seen when the sun hits it just right, though the face is long gone. You walk toward it through tall grass slick with morning dew. The river murmurs softly beside you, the sound like breathing through reeds. The Guardian waits at the water's edge, its reflection shifting with the current. You can smell mud, cold metal, wet stone. The fog curls around its shoulders like a cloak. When you reach it, you see what the legends mean. This is not just a rock, it's a monument. At its base, almost invisible beneath moss, you can make out symbols, circles within circles, lines that twist like currents, tiny etchings that look like waves or script. You trace your hand across them. The grooves are shallow but precise, carved by someone who understood the language of water. Scholars believe it dates back to the Lepensky Vir culture, the people who built houses shaped like fish along this very river, over 8,000 years ago. They worshipped the flow of the Danube, the great artery of life that fed the Balkans long before there were nations. They built statues like this, half human, half river, faces of stone that looked both to the water and to the sky. But the Guardian is different. It faces downstream, not toward the sunrise like the others. Its gaze follows the flow, watching what leaves, not what arrives. The villagers say it was carved to hold the river's memory, to watch the souls that pass with the current, and ensure none are lost. They say when the fog rises thick enough to hide both banks, the Guardian hums. You stand before it. The air is still, cold, and heavy. The river barely moves. A single heron lifts from the far bank, wings catching the light before vanishing into mist. The stone is wet to the touch, slick with condensation. Beneath your fingers, the carvings feel almost alive. The ridge is warm despite the chill air. You lean closer. The river's sound changes, not louder, but deeper. You can hear its pulse now, slow and heavy, as if it were breathing beneath the surface. And there, faint but unmistakable, comes another sound, a hum. It isn't from the water, it's from the stone, low, resonant, rising and falling with the rhythm of the river. You step back, the fog thickens, blurring the horizon. The Guardian seems taller now, its outline sharper against the white air. The hum deepens, and the water begins to ripple outward from its base in perfect concentric circles. For a moment, everything else disappears. The trees, the opposite shore, the sound of birds. Only water and stone remain, and the hum. You close your eyes. The vibration travels through your feet, through your bones, into your chest. It doesn't feel like sound anymore. It feels like memory. When you open your eyes, the fog has shifted. The river glows faintly gold, as if lit from within. The Guardian's reflection wavers, but its outline remains perfectly still. You realize what the villagers meant when they said it watches the souls. The Danube is filled with ghosts, of cities drowned, of bridges burned, of lives carried downstream. The river remembers everything. The guardian listens so none of it is lost. You kneel by the base, looking closer at the carvings. Beneath the surface moss, you see faces, faint, rounded, their mouths open in silent chant. There are dozens of them, all turned toward the water. You brush away the dirt, revealing a single line of script beneath them, not written but incised with precision. The marks resemble ripples frozen in stone, a language of flow. You can't read it, but the meaning feels clear. What goes must return. A soft breeze moves through the reeds. The fog parts for an instant, revealing the width of the river. The sun glints on the surface, turning it into liquid gold, and just as quickly, the light fades again. The hum stops, the world exhales. You rise, stepping back from the stone. The silence that follows feels sacred, heavy, endless. Even the river seems to quiet, the current flattening to glass. The guardian stands unchanged, staring into mist, listening to what only it can hear. You feel the faint echo of its hum still vibrating inside your chest. It's slower now, matching your heartbeat. You turn to look downstream, following its gaze. The fog thins just enough to show a glimmer of the river curving out of sight. It feels like an invitation. You follow the bank for a while, your footsteps soft on the damp earth. The air smells of iron and rain. The sound of water deepens again, and for a moment, you think you hear the hum following you, low, distant, carried by the current. You glance back once more. The guardian is almost invisible now, half swallowed by mist, but its shadow stretches across the surface of the Danube, long and unwavering, reaching farther than it should. Even when the form fades, the shadow remains. It trails along the current like a thread of memory, a dark reflection guiding the river forward. You stop and watch it until it disappears around the bend. The hum fades with it, but the silence it leaves behind is alive, full of presence, full of waiting. The Danube moves on, and so does the story. Night falls gently over the Danube. The fog dissolves into air, and the last color drains from the river until only silver remains. A sheet of liquid moonlight stretching toward infinity. The wind quiets. The reeds sway without sound. Somewhere in the distance, an owl calls once, and then all is still. You return to the guardian. It waits as before, silent, immovable, half in shadow, half in light. The moon catches along its edges, revealing every line, every worn carving. The faces at its base seem to shift in the glow, their hollow eyes deeper, their mouths caught mid-whisper. You sit near the water, close enough to feel its slow pull. The river's surface moves so gently that it seems not to move at all. But beneath it, you can sense the weight of its motion, the endless procession of unseen things it carries from mountain to sea. The air is colder now. You draw your coat tighter. Somewhere beneath the surface, ice scrapes rock, a faint sound like glass sliding against glass. The guardian hums again. It begins low, so low you almost miss it, a vibration running through the soil rather than the air. The tone rises slowly, as if the stone is waking from thought. It resonates in the ground, in the water, in the marrow of your bones, and then, beneath that hum, you hear others. Echoes, soft and countless. They come from the river itself, carried upstream and down, reflected off the banks, answering the stone in layered tones that swell and fade. You realize it isn't humming alone. The Danube is singing back. It's an old song, older than words, older than faith, a dialogue between water and stone, between movement and stillness. The faces at the guardian's base catch moonlight. Their carved mouths seem to open wider. The surface of the water trembles, forming tiny ripples that spread in perfect rhythm with the hum. You close your eyes. The vibration deepens, filling the air. You can feel each note, each pulse, moving through you. Beneath that rhythm, a pattern emerges, subtle, mathematical, like the current of time itself written in sound. And then, faintly, you hear something else. A whisper, not from the air, but from within the hum itself. Words forming slowly, each one shaped by tone, not breath. The river remembers. You open your eyes. The world has changed. The moon has climbed higher, and the water glows with its light. The reflection of the guardian stretches across the river, reaching to the far bank. But where the real stone stands still, its reflection moves. It shifts, bends, rises, the shadow forming the faint outline of a figure. Broad-shouldered, ancient, carved from current and light. The river's hum rises to meet it. The shadow lifts its head. Its edges shimmer, flicker, reform. For a moment you see its face, not a man's, not a god's, but something in between. The same spiral marks carved into the stone swirl across its brow, glowing faintly gold. The water ripples. The reflection lowers its head toward the guardian, as if in recognition. You don't move. You barely breathe. The air around you feels dense with memory. Not yours, not the river's, but the world's. The kind that lives in the silence between sounds, in the pause between tides. The hum begins to change, softer now, slower, breaking into smaller tones that overlap like the sound of rain. The reflection bends forward until it meets its own image, and for an instant, the two merge. The stone glows faintly, the carvings at its base shimmer, the faces seem to breathe. The circles carved into its surface begin to turn, not physically, but in the light, as though the moon itself were spinning around them. The sound grows warmer, and in that warmth, you hear it, the river's language. Not words but meaning, the deep, resonant knowledge of a thing that has existed too long to care for names. It speaks through vibration, through memory, through flow. It says, all things move toward silence, but silence is not the end, it is the returning. The hue fades, the reflection dissolves, the water smooths again, into silver calm. You exhale, realizing you've been holding your breath. The guardian is still, but its shadow remains stretched long and dark across the surface, unbroken even by the current. The night deepens, mist begins to form again, rising from the water like smoke. You stand, feeling the ground's faint tremor, the last echo of the hum. The river has resumed its rhythm. It flows steady, patient, carrying its hidden song beneath the surface. You watch for a long time, until the moon dips low and the first hints of dawn begin to brush the horizon. The guardian's shape softens, fading slowly into gray. The Danube glitters with new light. The shadow shortens, slides downstream, and vanishes, but even after it's gone, you can still feel it, the weight of it, the quiet presence of a thing that has listened too long to ever be forgotten. You touch the stone once more. It's cool again, but not cold. The carvings beneath your fingers are smooth now, as if time itself has paused to rest. You whisper a word you don't understand. The river answers with a ripple. A single wave touches the base of the guardian, then retreats. A farewell. You step back and turn away. The fog thickens, swallowing the stone behind you, but you know it's still there, patient, unmoving, listening. As you walk along the river's edge, the hum lingers inside you, faint, rhythmic, steady, the sound of something vast remembering itself. The guardian does not speak, because it never needs to. It listens, it endures, and through its silence, the river keeps its song. Somewhere beyond sight, where the Danube bends toward the sea, the hum continues, slow, low, and eternal. It is the world's pulse in water, and the stone that shadowed it still watches, keeping time with everything that moves. The gate that faced the glacier. The wind in Patagonia does not speak, it remembers. It moves over plains and ice like breath through old stone, carrying stories carved into the bones of mountains. Here, at the edge of the world, the sky feels too large to belong to Earth. It leans down heavy with cold light, mirrored by glaciers that seem to glow from within. Between them, rivers of ice curl through the valleys, ancient and slow, carrying centuries in their frozen veins. And at the mouth of one of those rivers, where blue ice meets black rock, stands something no one has ever explained, a gate. Two pillars of dark granite rise from the glacial plain, joined by a single lintel of pale stone that gleams even beneath clouds. The shape is unmistakable, a perfect archway carved from earth itself. It faces the glacier directly. The wind howls around it, sharp with cold and salt. Snowdrifts collect at its base. The ice beyond groans softly as it moves. A sound like deep breath, like memory being stretched across time. No human settlements stand within 100 kilometers. There are no paths, no remnants of walls or foundations, just the gate. The first explorers who recorded it called it La Puerta del Silencio, the Gate of Silence. They said that when you stand between its pillars, every sound, even the wind, stops. You walk toward it now, your boots crunching over snow crusted with frost. The air burns your lungs so clean it feels sharp. The horizon is all light and distance, glacier ahead, sky above, rock beneath. The gate grows larger with every step. It towers 3 times your height, its lintel capped with snow that never melts. The granite is black, veined with silver. The center stone, the lintel, glows faintly gray-blue, as if holding a memory of light. You reach it just as the wind dies. The silence hits you like a wall. No sound of wind, no echo of steps, not even your own breath. The air thickens, heavy and still. You step beneath the arch. The world changes. The cold deepens instantly, but it's not the kind that burns. It's cleaner, clearer, a stillness so total it feels alive. The glacier looms before you, a towering wall of ice, streaked with veins of turquoise and white. Light seeps through it from behind, turning it into a living thing, a slow-breathing creature of frozen air. You touch one of the gate's pillars. The granite is smoother than you expect, worn not by tools, but by time itself. Tiny patterns shimmer on its surface, lines that look like frost but don't melt beneath your hand. They form spirals, then rivers, then shapes that look like mountains seen from above. The wind returns suddenly, a single gust, strong enough to push you back a step, and in that instant you hear it. A sound so deep it's almost below hearing, a vibration rolling through the ground, through the air, through the ice. The glacier is singing, not loudly, not fast, just a slow resonant hum that moves through your chest like a pulse. The sound travels into the gate, into the stone, into you. It isn't random. It's rhythm, a pattern of vibration. You close your eyes. Beneath that hum, other notes emerge. Higher, thinner, like glass singing in a frozen wind. They rise and fall, harmonizing with the glacier's low tone. It sounds like language made of breath. You step back into the wind. The air rushes around you again, carrying tiny flakes of ice that sting your skin. The gate hums faintly now, its black stone vibrating with each low tremor of the glacier. The ancient people who once crossed these plains, the Tehuelche, the Selknam, spoke of a doorway that faced the soul of winter. They said it was where the sky touched the world, and where the world listened in return. They left no carvings, no markers, only stories. Stories of a gate that would one day awaken when the ice began to retreat. You kneel at the base of the left pillar. A thin stream of meltwater trickles beneath it, glowing faintly blue in the half-light. You reach out, and the water feels warmer than it should. Not from sun, but from movement. It vibrates with the same rhythm as the glacier's hymn. You watch it flow between your fingers, vanishing beneath the snow. The gate trembles again, barely perceptible, but real. You rise and look through the arch. The glacier looms closer now, shifting subtly in its vast, slow crawl. Cracks form along its surface, releasing faint echoes that bounce through the valley like whispers. Each time the ice moves, the gate answers, the stone ringing with a tone too low to belong to anything human. You understand, suddenly, what the first explorers meant when they said it was built to listen. The gate isn't a door to pass through, it's an ear. It was carved to face the glacier, not to control it, but to hear it, to record the slow song of the earth in ice and time. And now, as the world warms and the glaciers retreat, it hums again, not because the song is returning, but because it's ending. The hum rises once more, deeper now, closer. You can feel it in your teeth. The glacier's face shifts, an avalanche of sound rolling across the plain. The gate trembles, the snow around it lifting in soft spirals. Light glows through the ice wall, blinding for an instant. White, blue, gold. The air fills with glittering particles, tiny crystals spinning in invisible patterns, and for a single heartbeat, the world stands still. The sound peaks, one perfect tone, ringing through the valley like a bell struck by the sky. Then it fades, the wind returns, carrying the echo downstream. The glacier settles, the hum quiets to silence once more. You step backward out of the gate. Sound floods back in, wind, snow, your breath, the faint groan of distant ice. The pillars stand motionless, their black stones streaked with frost, but they look different now, not ancient, awake. The faint shimmer of light still lingers along the lintel, pulsing once, twice, then stilling. The glacier exhales, and the valley breathes again. By night, Patagonia is made of silence and light. The glacier glows beneath the moon, its veins alive with trapped starlight. The wind slides down from the peaks, carrying a cold so pure it feels like sound turned to air. The gate stands black against the ice, its shadow long, its arch filled with frozen brilliance. You sit near its base, wrapped in your coat, watching the breath of the glacier drift upward like smoke. Each exhale from the ice releases tiny sounds, creaks, sighs, distant cracks, the language of something vast remembering how to move. The gate listens, as it has for centuries, its pillars vibrating faintly in time with the glacier's pulse. You place your hand on the stone again. It's still warm beneath the frost, the hum returning in threads so fine you almost doubt them. But it's there, low, constant, patient. You close your eyes. The wind moves past your ears, carrying faint echoes of voices, not words, not people, tones. The pitch of water freezing, the rhythm of mountains shifting, the harmony of time flowing backward. The world is singing itself into being, and the gate remembers every note. The Selknam told a story, half legend, half memory, of the Puerta del Aliento, the breath gate. They said it was built by the spirits of ice to hold the sound of the first wind, that when the glaciers spoke their last word, the gate would hum once more, carrying their voice into eternity. You listen harder, the hum is changing. It rises and falls in cycles, deep as thunder, soft as heartbeat. The glacier cracks again, a low, resonant echo that fills the valley like the rolling of distant drums. The snow begins to fall, light, steady, endless. Each flake catches the moonlight before landing on the black granite, melting instantly. The sound of their touch is too faint to hear, yet somehow the gate records it, adding their rhythm to its song. You look through the arch again. The glacier's face glows like a cathedral window. Bands of blue light ripple through it, as air bubbles trapped for millennia catch the moon. The hum deepens once more. The snow around you trembles. The river of ice groans. And then the gate answers. A tone rises from its core, low at first, then clearer. A voice made of stone, joining the glacier's song. Together they create a harmony so immense it seems to bend the air. The light from the ice intensifies, glowing through the arch like dawn trapped in a single moment. Your vision blurs. The sound vibrates in your chest, in your throat, in your bones. You don't move, you can't, because it's not sound you're hearing now, it's memory. You see it. Not with eyes, but with everything else. The glacier forming from snow that fell before history, rivers frozen mid-thought, mountains still rising, stars reflecting in lakes that no longer exist, and always the gate, standing where the ice meets the world, listening. The tone climbs higher, brightening, then softens. The glacier exhales a final long breath. A mist rises, golden in moonlight, and drifts through the gate like smoke through glass. As it passes, the lintel glows, the light shifts, flowing like water across its surface before fading into the stone. The hum steadies, slows, quiets, the valley is still again. You breathe, finally aware that the world has resumed its rhythm. Wind moving, snow falling, the faint gurgle of meltwater beneath ice. The gate stands unchanged, but something has left it, or entered it. The air around it feels lighter now, the cold gentler. The glacier glows faintly blue, shrinking slowly into darkness. It moves, as all things do, but now its motion feels deliberate, peaceful. You stay until dawn. The first light spills over the peaks, painting the ice in soft gold. The gate catches it perfectly, the sun striking the lintel, the pillars gleaming with frost. The shadow it casts stretches toward the glacier, as if reaching to touch what remains. You rise and brush snow from your coat. The air smells of mineral and light. The silence is whole again, but beneath it the faint hum continues, not in the air, but in you. You look back one last time. The gate stands alone, black against the rising sun, the glacier retreating in quiet majesty beyond it. The wind stirs, moving through the archway, carrying a sound so faint it's almost thought. We are still here. The tone fades. The wind moves on. You walk away slowly, your footprints filling with snow. Behind you, the gate and the glacier face one another in endless conversation, stone and ice, listener and speaker, presence and echo. And when the wind rises again, it will carry the song onward, over plains and peaks, through rivers and air, until someone else stops to listen. Because the world still hums, because the silence still remembers, because even as the glaciers melt, the gate will remain, watching, listening, holding the final note of winter, for as long as there is breath left in the sky. The mountains blink with dawnlight, the air shimmers, and far behind you, faint but eternal, the gate hums once more. Thank you for wandering these quiet corners of the world with me. If you felt the earth breathe tonight, please like, subscribe, and tell us where and what time you're watching from. Your presence keeps these forgotten places alive in the dark. Until next time, may the world's old whispers follow you gently into sleep.